Okay, just to speed things up a little bit, I've already painted in the background over here, and while I had burnt umber, which that's exactly what this is pure burnt umber on my brush, I also painted in the contour line of the model's face, which is actually the darkest shadow of the hair. So this is background. This is not background. This is shadowed hair through here. Notice that I have left some air holes, notably there, there. This is where you can see through the hair or parts of the hair. You wouldn't be able to do that in the mass of the hair, but you do over at the edges. And while I've still got this burnt umber on my brush then, I'm actually going to paint some other air holes through here. So again, I'm just painting some areas where I might be able to see through the hair. And then down here, I'm going to actually start painting some of what might be low lights or shadowed areas in my hair. But I'm starting to develop already the kind of structure of the hair, the way it flows. It's coming from a background the far side of her head, and you know it comes down like this. So every stroke that I make now that I'm painting hair here, I want to make sure that every stroke I paint is actually moving in a direction that the hair might move or would move. Now before I go on, let me show you my palette. What I'm working with here, I'm painting a redhead, and I want her to have a fiery mane of red hair. But I'm going to have burnt umber, that's going to be my darkest color. And then I'm going to use a lot of burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is a reddish orangey brown. It's really a little darker than red hair, but other than that it's a lot like red hair. I'm going to use a little cadmium orange hue to really give it some fire. That might be exaggerating things a little bit, but what the heck. Artistic license. And then I'm going to use some yellow ochre and some white. When you blend yellow ochre and white together, you get blonde hair. And that's one of the best formulas for blonde I can give you, is just plain old yellow ochre and white. And you can get all kinds of different blondes depending on how you mix the two, how much white and how much yellow ochre. So that's my basic palette. That's what I'm going to work with. And now that I've got some paint down, some low lights or some shadows done with the burnt umber, I'm going to dip into my burnt sienna, which is a little lighter, a little redder, and start working with that. So now I'm working in this area under her chin, which I really perceive as being, you know, fairly dark, because it's shadowed by her chin and her body. But I'm not going to fill that in completely. I want some lighter colors in there too. And then I'm going to start bringing her hair down like I think it might go. I can blend that a little there so that that dark shadow doesn't stop abruptly, but it blends into some lighter. And you notice I didn't clean my brush, so I'm getting a little burnt umber mixed in. I like that. I wanted all the colors I can get. I want a lot of variety in here. Now see, I'm trying to think, if I'm going to have a little lock coming out there, where would it come from? Well, it's got to come from somewhere. So I'm bringing it all the way down from there, blend it out, make it disappear into the background just like that. Same here. I got some colors flipping up. Where do they come from? They come down from here, and they got a lot of curl there at the end. Okay, now to add a little fire to the mix. I'm going with a little bit of actual cadmium orange hue. Really light things up a little bit. And I'll blend some of this in so it's not quite as obvious. But it lends me a little something. A little more vivid hue than I get with my burnt sienna, which is more brownish. Again, this is cadmium orange hue that I'm putting on here. Use some of it down here to lighten and kind of Get a little fire going down in here. I'm blending this in as I go a little bit because this is the sort of the darker part of the hair. Might not be quite that colorful. Okay, now I'm going in, and without even cleaning my brush, I'm going to pick up some yellow ochre. And now I'm getting out toward the edges where I really want the thing to be light. But I'm going to have some lighter hues in here too. And now that I'm using this lighter color, I can really go out to the edge of my painting. And even into my background, which I want to blend into my background. Wanting this to blend into the background like smoke. Don't care that it's distinct there, don't want it to be distinct. Don't want a hard edge on my hair. Hair wouldn't have a hard edge. And notice how casual and careless I can be about this, because that's the great thing about hair. It's like painting a tree in a landscape. Your viewer doesn't know what height that tree was. If you make it a couple of feet taller or a couple of feet shorter than it really was to suit your composition, so what? Nobody knows. And the same is true with hair, especially fly away, a mass of hair like this. Who knows which direction it really went and how far it stuck out into the background. Just paint it, make it look good. Okay, now I'm sticking with my burnt umber. I'm trying to define my edges a little bit. Kind of getting my painting done out toward the flyaway side of the hair, where, as I said earlier, it's going to be darkest near the face, lightest out here where it's transilluminated as well as directly illuminated. See, right there, got it disappearing like smoke there. That's my goal. Now right in here, I think I'm getting a little too much, so I'm going with a little burnt sienna, again without cleaning my brush. Going back to a little yellow ochre, come out through here, make this curl, bring that curl right back into the mass of hair, and then it's got little parts that going to come like this, through here. Try to leave a little bit of that burnt umber in between them. Okay, now down in here I'm going to get my cadmium orange hue, again without cleaning my brush, so there's really no telling what's on my brush. Then I'm going to get some burnt sienna. I want a darker streak in here. And a little blending in here, more than anything. Get some more burnt sienna. Fill in a little bit through here. Again, always keeping my brush moving in the direction that the hair would flow. Getting a little orange in here, getting a little highlight. Now I'm going to get some burnt umber, a little more defined stroke in there. Now, just for a little contrast, I'm taking a little burnt umber, going to bring it right out of the shadow. Not trying to overwhelm anything with it, just get her going there. And then I'm going to mix some yellow ochre with white. To to get some highlights out here, a little more contrast. And then I'm going to get some internal highlights in through here, something like this. Again, using that yellow ochre. And white mixture. Alright, now I'm going to my blending brush, and I'm not going to blend much here because I don't want to lose much anything. But the first thing I'm going to blend is the extreme outsides of my hair. I want to do the fumato technique and just make that last little bit of hair just disappear into the background. Blend it into the background so it disappears like smoke. Really like the way it looks right through there already. So even going from a very light highlight into the background, you can still do it there. No problem. Now I'm not doing background so much, just cooling off that highlight some. And even when I blend, keep in mind, my strokes have got to run in the direction that hair would run. You've got to be careful blending because it's easy to make everything all one color, easy to lose your stroke lines even though you're blending in the same direction roughly that you had them in the first place. So I don't want to go too far. I want to ease this transition out of the shadow into the hair a little bit. So what I'm doing right there. Maybe there too. And there I've got myself some hair, and I like it pretty well. I think it looks very natural. It's not quite as colorful as the original version I did. I could make it that way if I want. But I think it's very natural, very soft looking. Got nice fumato effect on the outside. Lots of different colors, lots of different widths and shapes of brush strokes. You know, you can't paint every individual hair, obviously, but using this kind of a technique can give the impression that it really is hair made up of thousands of strands that are coming together in different aggregations of color and shape. So that's about it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. My name again is Lance Porter, and I have several other videos online, all having to do with painting portraits in oil paint on canvas. So if you get a chance to look up some of my other videos, I welcome you to, and I hope you'll join me sometime online. My website is learntopaintportraits.com. I also teach weekend workshops, typically on Saturday and Sunday, 8 hours each day, in which the participants start with a blank canvas and end up with a completed portrait. And if you ever get a chance to join me in one of those workshops, that would be great. I'd love to meet you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.